Hello, everyone. Good past Yom Tov. I don't have a voice, but I'm going to try to share without a voice. Today in the morning, I got an aliyah because it was Monday. Day after Sukkot is Monday, and I'm a Kohen, so they gave me the first aliyah. And the words of the Chumash and Bereshis jumped out at me. It says, "Va'aretz isasoyu vavoyu." The earth was desolate, with extreme desolation and confusion. Choshech, and was darkness. And then Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or, Hashem said, "Let there be light." So it hit me that we're like, as we are reeling because of the situation in the Holy Land in Eretz Yisrael, and it feels like the world is tayu vavayu. There's such confusion. Everything about this event, this horrific event, is just pure confusion and darkness. But then Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or, Hashem says, "Let there be light." And what's the light? The light is the light of the Torah. Torah is light. So our light can come from looking into the Torah. Now, the blessing is that it should be, when it continues in that reading, it says that Hashem separated between light and darkness. There's light and there's darkness, which we know is good and evil. And Hashem separated between light and darkness, which means, its ultimate meaning is that the spirit of impurity and evil, Hashem is going to wipe off the face of the earth. And then the Erev HaYiboyke Yom Echad is going to be one day. The day of oneness is going to be revealed. Mashiach, which is the time of oneness, is going to be fully revealed. There's going to be absolute oneness of the world. Based on that, I wanted to share something that occurred to me today in the morning. This might serve as a little bit of a picker-upper, because we're crushed and we're looking for some inspiration, for something to pick us up. So this occurred to me as literally I woke up in the morning and I was still in bed, and I this verse popped into my head. And it was like, in a sense, very chilling when it happened. And then I woke up and I washed my hands, said what I had to say, and then I went and I checked the verse out. And it became really, 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 like, it really shook me, like, this is something. But I didn't know if I should share this or not share it. If this is something I should put out there, just to talk, just to have a voice out there, just for no reason. There has to be something good coming out of it. So while I was davening, I was thinking, I was in my head, no. I decided there's an elder chassid in our shul, special man, and I decided to ask him. So after davening was over, I ran to get a chumash, the verse that I will share with you in a moment. And it's in the book of Numbers. And I ran to get a chumash and to show it to him, because I saw also that he wanted to hear from me what I'm thinking about the situation. So I go into the bookshelf, I take the chumash and I open it up. And the page randomly, nothing random, opens up to that verse. So if I needed another sign that this is something to share, I'd like to share this. So for whatever this is worth, it's hard, we need tzaddikim these days to be able to tell us the deeper mysteries of existence. In the situation that we're in, and we're in a state of seconds before the full and complete redemption, there's a certain darkness, and we grapple. We're grasping for little straws. So perhaps this is something. Let's see what it says in Numbers, Perek Chaf Aleph, chapter 21 in the book of Numbers, in Bamidbar. It says, "Vayishma Haknani Melech Arod." The king of Canaan. The Canaanite, the Canaanite people, the king of Arod, Yoshev HaNegev, who lives to the south, heard Kibo Yisrael Derech HaSarim, that Israel came through the ways of the tour guide. Vayalochem be Yisrael, and he went to fight and he waged war against Israel. Vayish mimenu shevi, and he took hostages, he took captives. Okay, so we're talking about something that's coming from the south, from the Negev, from the south, and we're talking about captives. Now let's take a look what Rashi says when this happened. Vayishma Knani. So Rashi says the Knani heard. What did they hear? The verse before this talks about Aaron the high priest passing away, and the verse before this describes the passing of Aaron, the Kohen Gadol. And what did the Knani hear? They heard that Aaron passed away, and the clouds of glory that was surrounding the Jewish people and protecting them left them, because we know that the clouds of glory were in the merit of Aaron. When Aaron passed away, these clouds of glory were departed. And they felt that the Jewish people are vulnerable because they're lacking divine protection. And they're vulnerable for attack. And they attacked at that time. But Rashi says, look at these words. Shama shemes Aaron. He heard that Aaron passed away. And the clouds of glory departed. So says Rashi, Targum Yonusan. Ben Uziel says the same. Targum Yerushalmi. This is stated that that's what he heard. And what struck to me was like really, really frightening, is that the day that this happened was on Shmini Atzeres, the 8th day of the holiday, which is the day that we do not sit in the sukkah anymore. Now, those living in the diaspora, many still sit in the sukkah because of a whole question, which day is the Yom Tov, not getting into it. But in the land of Israel, on the 8th day of Sukkot, you don't sit in a sukkah anymore. Now, the whole sukkah, the booth that we sit in, is to commemorate the clouds of glory that are called Ananoi da Aaron. The Zohar, it's referred to the clouds of Aaron. That's how the Zohar refers to it. These are the clouds of Aaron, the protector of the Jewish people. So while the Jewish people are sitting in the sukkah, then again, obviously the people down here, these absolute lowlives, these wicked monsters, they're not knowing that they don't know this, but they're spiritual, I don't know, whatever, monstrous angel above does know these things. So they wait until the day after that protection is gone. Or we're not sitting in a sukkah. I'm not going to say, God forbid, the protection is gone, but we're not sitting in a sukkah anymore. The Anane Yaakov are gone, and they attack. And what happened? They took Vayash b'menu shevi. Rashi says they took only one maidservant, which, by the way, is interesting. They focused on grabbing girls, grabbing women. Rashi says it was one maidservant. But the Targum Yonasun ben Azil, and also Targum Yerushalmi says, they took Shivya Rabbah. They took lots of hostages. The whole point of this campaign was, in addition for the murderous, bloodthirsty animals that want to see Jewish blood, but they particularly wanted captives. They took Shivya Rabbah. Now, what's very interesting is that Rashi says, the Amalek. Rashi continues, and who was this? These are the Amaleks. The Amalek. And Rashi adds something that doesn't seem like unnecessary. Why does he have to add this? He says, V'Amalek ma'olam ritzuas mardus liYisrael. Amalek always was, and Olam means will always be until Mashiach. As we know, the war of Amalek is till Mashiach comes. They are a ritzua, means like a whip, mardus to hit, God forbid, to hurt. Mardus means to cause trouble. Mizumin b'chol eis leperanias. They're always ready to cause pain and trouble. So, like, this is a story that happened back in the desert. Why is Rashi saying Amalek? You can say that Rashi means that Amalek is striking again. They're always ready. Oh, you're talking about enemies that are in a constant state of attack. And when they smell the tiniest weakness or the tiniest breach in the spiritual protection of the Jewish people, or whatever it is, so that's when they come in and attack. It's like they're always there. That's the simple meaning. But it could be this message was put in for a reason. that this event that just happened is related to this Amalek. These are Amalekites who right before Mashiach is fully revealed, the last seconds, they're attacking again. And when do they attack? The day after Sukkot. And none of the Aaron are not here, or seem to have been not as powerful as the day before. So this is okay. So we find something in the Torah which, when we see that it's stated, again, yeah, if I was a Navi, if I was a tzaddik, I can say these things. I'm sharing the thought that occurred to me today. It seems like it's really, what else? When I share this with someone and they pointed out the words Rashi says, Ritzuas, Amalek is always Ritzuas Mardas. Ritzua also means a strip. The Gaza Strip is called the Gaza Strip. If you take a look in ancient Jewish history in the times of the prophets, I don't recall when I was reading this, but years ago when I gave a class, I researched it. I didn't get a chance to research it again. But that the Gaza Strip, that particular strip, has always been a sore spot for the Jewish people with enormous trouble. And it has always been from that place. So it's interesting that Rashi uses the word Ritzuas Mardas. Ritzua means a whip, but also means a strip of trouble for the Jewish people. So doesn't help much. It's just that we know that it's stated here. What's the more comforting news? It says the response to that was Vayida Yisrael Nedel Hashem. Israel, the Jewish people, made a promise to God. Vayomer, and they said, if you will help me, God, if you will give this people in my hands, I will completely consecrate their cities. Achramte means I will destroy, but it also means I will consecrate. As Rashi says, we will take this, we won't use the spoils for personal benefit. We will give it completely for the temple. We will give it completely to God. This is what the Jewish people made a promise. Now it's interesting, when they make the promise, they said, if you will give this people, they don't say a name. So it is explained that these were really Amalekites, but they dressed up like Canaanim. They masqueraded, they dressed up like others so that they can camouflage themselves. And that when the Jewish people will pray, they were afraid of the Jewish prayer because they're the children of Esau. And if they're the children of Esau, they're afraid of the voice of Yaakov, because Esau was blessed with the hands, with the sword. And Jacob, the Jewish people, were blessed with their prayer. So they wanted to confuse the Jewish people that they should pray that Hashem should destroy the Canaanim, and meanwhile they're Amalekites. So what did the Jewish people do? They said, whichever these people are, we're confused today. We don't really know. Are the Iranians the ones who are doing this, which were probably Iran is behind this. And who knows who else? Masquerading as some. This is where they came in and did this, what they did. So the Jewish people prayed, let God give them in my hands. And then what happens? Vayishma Hashem b'kol Yisrael. God listened to the voice of Israel. I don't recall ever such an awakening, the awakening across the Jewish world of prayer. Everybody just pray. What can we do? Everybody wants to do something. The prayers are heard across, ringing up, storming up the heavens. God, and first of all, another thing is over here. We recognize that there was tremendous failure on the leadership or on the intelligence of Israel, which means the concept and the idea that the Jewish people can rely on an army or can rely on a military. Okay. Although we're obligated to have a military and obligated to have an army, but that we should rely that that's all we need, has always been a mistake. That whenever we made that mistake, we paid for it with a terrible price. The Jewish people have to always know that it's not the might. Loy bigvura sasus. It's not the might. Sheker asus l'shua. False is the horse, which means all military power for salvation. Because the salvation, like Shem Hashua, comes from Hashem. So you see it over here, the Jewish people are praying to God. In this particular place, even people that I guess, for whatever reason, there's a little concealment, the darkness of the exile, which has caused the concealment, and people think that we can rely on this government, or we can rely on this government, and now we have this particular government that is very, very, we might say, hawkish, and when they'll be in power, everything will be good. We, the Jewish people, know we need God. We need Mashiach. We need the kingdom of Malchus Beis David. Actually, it says that Mashiach's job is to fight Amalek and to finally destroy them. So here it says that Hashem listened to the sound, to the cries of the Jewish people, and he gave them into their hands, and they destroy them completely. And they call the name of the place Charma. Now, what does this mean? I hope and I pray, and we're all praying, that Tzahal and the Israeli, the armies that need to deal with this on the boots on the ground, that need to do what need to be done. First of all, are awake and are praying, and we're all praying for them, and I'm sure they're all praying that Hashem should go out and fight this war for them. And let us hope that they don't even have to go out and fight, but that very mamish right now, God himself will go out and take care of the enemy. Because part of all this enemy, that's the wickedness of Amalek, is that they hide behind civilians and try to camouflage themselves and to create, and in this case, to take hostages as well, to create and make it impossible almost to go in there and do what needs to be done. So of course we need Hashem. But one of the things that was always a problem with the Israeli military, and it's not the military, it's always the politicians, is that as the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, would always cry, and he cried his heart out again and again and again, demanding of the Israeli government that they should not consider the ideas of the politicians. Because the politicians are only looking and thinking of what is this one going to say and what is that one going to say. Instead of having true Jewish pride, instead of knowing that we are God's people in this world and God gave us the land of Israel as an eternal gift. And the days of the suffering and the pain and the pogroms is over for the Jewish people. Time of that is over. We're ready for the triumphant redemption, to rebuild the holy temple, to become a light unto all the nations, and to bring divine wisdom for all of humanity. We're ready at that point. But when the Jewish people, sadly, because of 2,000 years of oppression and 2,000 years of constantly being at the mercy of the Gentile nations, have no self-respect, and when you have already a military, and you have the power to decimate your enemies, but continuously are worried what this one is going to say and what that one is going to say. And therefore, every time we've done any military operations, it's always, the Israeli army always goes in, does a little bit, and always steps back, which is insane. The Rebbe says costs lives, ends up costing so much more bloodshed, unnecessary. But the Rebbe even said on both sides, if the Israeli military, if those who are calling, those that are deciding, would decide just merely on the military experts and not on politicians, then what they would do is what is the call of the hour? To right now, Israel has called a war, to completely do what they need to do, and that is whatever military experts coming from a purely military place, not from any worry of the UN, the EU, the American, because right now today everybody is giving Israel the license to act, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day afterwards, like always happens. It's improportionate or whatever. God forbid they should listen to any of that. Do what needs to be done, that from now and forever, every single person walking in the land of Israel is safe and doesn't have to fear one bit. They could do it, and they know what they need to do. And obviously, if they'll have God's help, they will succeed. But without the fear, and if this is what it takes to awaken the sleeping lion, they should make this neder, to make this promise, to do what needs to do. That's what I think it means over here. Vayakim, as it says over here, that Vayachrim esem v'esareim. They've finally done what needs to be done. to destroy them and their cities. What kind of a destruction? Whatever it takes to get safety in the land of Israel from now on forever. This is what Hashem wants of them to do. This is what it seems like from the verse over here. Now, what does this mean to me and to you, to us? I'm not in the military. I can share in this thought. We can all add and saying extra tehillim, extra psalms and prayers, and giving tzedakah, and increasing in our love for each other, and calling on all of the world to recognize that Mashiach is about to come. However, I would say just a little thought that occurred to me as today as well regarding this is that what the verse says happened over here was that they consecrated everything to God. What could this possibly mean to us? So the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the last time he spoke to us on Simchas Torah, so I'm taking the idea that being that the Rebbe is without a question a prophet, and therefore when the Rebbe spoke, in his words are contained messages for years to come. Because particularly on certain days, the days relating to those very days of the future. So the Rebbe on Simchas Torah the last time, which would be a day after this happened in Israel, the Rebbe was speaking about the idea that on Simchas Torah is connected to Mashiach and the coming of Mashiach. And during Simchas Torah, during the Hakafas, we introduced the dancing by saying Atar Esalodas. We were shown to know Ki Hashem Hu Elokim, that God is Ein Od. There's literally Ein Od Movado. There's nothing but God. So the Rebbe said, interesting, that there's many different types of levels of service of Hashem. There's service of Hashem where you serve God and you know that God is ultimately the only one that deserves to be worshipped. Therefore, you give over of yourself to serve Hashem. And obviously that is measured with many, many, many levels of what kind of a devotion. There are levels where you only serve Hashem whatever He obligates you. Then there is a greater level of divine service where you're serving God all day long. Whatever you're doing is for the sake. Kol masecha yi l'shem shamayim. Everything you do is for the sake of serving Hashem. A higher level of that is b'chol derechecha di'eyu. In all your ways, you seek to find God, not just that you're doing something which later will leave you, which will support your serving of Hashem. It's like eating, and then later I'll have strength and I'll be able to do a mitzvah. But rather to be able to see Hashem in every act that you're doing is a higher level. But then the Rebbe says, all of this is pre-Mashiach. The days of Mashiach is going to be a time when we're suddenly going to be opened up to the consciousness that literally there is nothing but God. God is all of reality. And we are nothing other than expressions of Him. So the Rebbe says, very, very powerful words. He says, if we're wondering why Mashiach didn't come yet, why didn't it come yet? The Rebbe came up on that Simchas Torah and say, maybe because we did not do enough yet of the work of Ein Od Milvado, which means to serve God in a way that literally there's nothing but Him. Which means it's not like I have a reality, I have an existence, I have a self. And in order to support myself, to help myself, I know that God is my support, God is my power, but it's still my life. But rather I recognize, no, there's only Hashem, it's only Him. It's interesting, the Rebbe would never ever say, there is a reason why Mashiach didn't come. The Rebbe actually said then, but now that we've already done that as well, so now there's no reason now Mashiach should come right today. We've already done that service as well. Could be that's what it means over here. To serve Hashem, that in the in other words, not taking anything for self. The entire service right now, each and every one of us, in a little bit of place that we can do that. To give ourselves off to recognize that in any moment, our silly egos are anyways going to be swept away. In divine truth, we're going to experience the overwhelming truth is going to come suddenly gushing forth into our consciousness that literally God is everything in all of existence. So instead of it hitting us like a tsunami or like a avalanche and we're unprepared, we start training our mind and our consciousness to that, to recognize just to be the flow of Hashem, of Hashem's through us. We have no other existence other than Him. And that's not taking anything away. It's not stealing anything from us. Quite on the contrary, it's liberating. It's taking away our limitations, our boundaries, whatever is constricted in us. Allows us to be a flow of infinite goodness, of infinite love, and of infinite energy, to recognize that we can do so much more. We have infinite power. Each and every one of us can influence the entire world. And instead of sitting there all day long and reading the news, which is not going to be that helpful, we should all just throw ourselves into complete service mode. Hashem, what can I do right now? What can we gather? Can we say Tehillim? Can we help? Can we do more mitzvahs? Can we act kindness? Let me share it with every human being I have. In a sense that there's nothing but God. That's what we're heading to. Could be that's our service of a Yikra Shema Mokim Charma. May Hashem help. We should already see the redemption right now. We should see the redemption. And just by talking about this should be enough. Should be enough. Shouldn't have to spend any more time in this darkness. I think, if I recall, in the holy book of Bnei Yissaschar, which is a great book from a great Hasidic Rebbe, a great Kabbalist, he brings from earlier that the month of Cheshvan is the month most set aside for the Chanukas Habayis of the third temple, for the opening ceremonies of the first temple. And we shouldn't have to wait for the ceremony to the month of Cheshvan. But today is already the 24th of Tishrei. So if Mashiach comes and the Beis Hamikdash comes down, and no one will have any complaints if actually we started the inaugural ceremonies before the month of Cheshvan. But we're in the zone right now. We're in the zone right now. May God have mercy on us and let us all strengthen each other with love. And yes, there is darkness. But another thought I just had, just like this stunning, shocking darkness came upon us so unexpectedly, it hit us so powerfully without anybody even having a possibility that this could happen. We shouldn't close the window. We should keep the window open. The miraculous news, the alarming cry that Mashiach is here and that redemption is here for the entire world is going to come with such incredible speed. So let us just be ready. Let us be ready. I would suggest, my father always suggests to me, he always tells me that, you should go to the mikveh every day and dip one time. So you're ready. If Mashiach comes today, you're ready to greet him. My father's always telling me, do it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But today you're ready. I'm feeling like, it's no joke. Any second, we could be literally going to greet Mashiach. So we should all be ready, and whatever type of ready. We should have our clothing, Yom Tov clothing ready. We should go dip in the mikveh every day so that Mashiach comes, we know we dipped in the mikveh. We're ready to greet Mashiach with joy, with happiness. Without a question, it's going to be Dida Natzach. There's going to be a tremendous victory for holiness, for godliness. Let's keep our spirits up. Let's keep our joy up. Yes, with a broken heart, but with deep inner joy emanating from the deepest place of our soul, that for sure, without a question, God is listening to our prayers. We're going to see the greatest light and the greatest joy ever and ever. May it be now.